Right. Good evening, my dear colleagues. Welcome to another INGET Zoom series. Today, our guest is Dr. Jerome Charles Bush from MEF University. Jerry Hojam has been working in the field of English language teaching since the late 1990s and has taught in America, Turkey, and Japan. He has won several awards. He has presented at over 20 international and national conferences and conducted numerous workshops and trainings throughout Turkey. He has published several books, book chapters, and articles. His research interests are discipline-specific formulaic language, in-service teacher training, flipped learning, and advanced writing technologies, technologies. Sorry. Apparently, I mix methodology and technology due to the recent developments. This evening, the title of his talk is Towards a Post-Pandemic Methodology, English Language Teaching in the New Normal. Thank you, dear Jerry Hojam, for being our guest speaker, and welcome again. The screen is all yours.
Well, thank you, and thank you for that nice introduction. It is an honor to be here and to be part of this important series that we're doing for the teachers. Okay, the topic is Towards a Post-Pandemic Methodology. We look first at where this came from. Coronavirus is not a brand new thing. It's been around for a while. It was first found in the 1965. There's been 7 varieties found so far. They were known by different names, like SARS and MERS. The official name of COVID, the scientific name, if you will, is SARS-CoV-2, and it was named COVID-19. It started in China, and it was different from the previous coronaviruses. They didn't spread too far. This one spread pretty quickly. The first case was in December 2019, and it was declared a pandemic on March 11th. The first case in Turkey was also on March 11th. And I woke up to see this email. I'm sure you all saw similar emails. We were kind of waiting for this. We knew it was going to happen probably, but it was still a shock. So the English preparatory classes went straight on online. They suspended education for a couple of days, but just like 2 days. And then on March 16th, all online education. And on March 19th, I went to the office and they said, go home. Don't work in the office, work at home. Okay, sure, why not? So this is where we're coming from. And then what happened? What was the COVID response? We need to think about these things, the responses to COVID, and which ones we need to save. What was good? What did we learn from COVID? What do we want to keep? What's not worth keeping? So that's a lot of what we're looking at here. Of course, all the countries went on lockdown. For me, I had been teaching online since about 2015. So I was up to speed with my technology, but a lot of teachers weren't. The Borg study referenced here surveyed, I think, around 450 teachers and in a variety of countries, and about half of them had not had experience teaching online before COVID. The teachers were using whatever they could in the beginning. They were using social media, email. Finally, Zoom became widely adopted. And now, look at us now, here we are on Zoom and we're so comfortable. We've become comfortable with this way of teaching. The digital competency improved. Teachers started to get very good at this. They developed their skills in this. The Turkish schools closed on March 16th. And then on March 23rd, they started the EBA TV. The EBA TV. I'm sure you guys remember all of this stuff. I'm just kind of reminding you where we're coming from. So the private schools were responding differently. Each kind of responded in their own way. This was called emergency remote teaching. There were a lot of terms going on. This term, emergency remote teaching, became popular. But the infrastructure was there. Okay, everyone had Wi-Fi, everyone had laptops, most people had an LMS of some type. But before COVID, online teaching really wasn't that popular. Well, I don't know if we'll ever be able to get away from it. So eventually teachers learned how to use this. Here in Istanbul, I know you guys are from all over, but here in Istanbul, recently we had quite a serious storm. And they just suddenly said online teaching. They just said, you're going online. So there was a serious storm, and I got the message. Okay, I heard this from my student first. He told me, they asked me, they said, are you guys doing a quiz tomorrow? Because we had a quiz plan. Are we doing the quiz online? I said, I'm sorry, I don't have an online lesson tomorrow. And she said, well, guess what, you do. And I hadn't heard about that. It's interesting. So I said, send me the message. And so she sent this to me. And you'll see this came at 9:08 to the students. We didn't get the email to the staff until 10:15. 10 o'clock at night. Okay, 10 o'clock at night. And they're saying, guess what? Tomorrow, you're not coming to school. The conditions are bad. It's not safe to be on the road. And we will do remote teaching. Was I shocked? Was I surprised? No problem. No problem. So I think part of the new normal is we may be having fewer snow holidays. We will have snow online days. So being suddenly asked to teach online, is it okay? For me, I really respected the decision of the rector to do this. I thought it was the right decision, and I have no problem teaching online, and my students have no problem learning online. So, this was a good thing to do, I think. We're looking at the new normal. It's not, COVID is not really over, so we can't really say that we're doing post-COVID yet. But there are changes that are happening. We're getting changes to the institution. The example of the sudden shift to online teaching is an institutional change. At MEF, where I work, 40% of the classes are online. Some of the professors want to work online. Throughout the world, some of the professors will say, if you don't let me work online, I will go work for another kind of business who will let me work online. In America, they have a condition they're calling the Great Resignation, which is a lot of people are quitting their jobs because they got used to online working in COVID, And they're saying, no, we don't want to go back. You know, we like working online. So the question is, what about the universities? Are they interested in allowing the teachers who want to work online? And then how are they going to set that up? Because the policies for online work are not really clear. There's not guidelines of when to be available. There's not a way of checking productivity, whether or not you're in meetings or you have to attend meetings or the meetings are in person. And what do? You have a way to Skype into meetings where other people are there in person. Like, this isn't clear yet. And then your workspace, you know, what kind of workspace are you supposed to have? What does your background need to look like at home? All the way from Georgia, welcome. Very good. So we're looking at some institutional changes here that are happening in the world. I don't know if you've heard of Minerva University. It's a new university. It's out of San Francisco. It's actually started pre-COVID, but it's a very interesting concept, and it may be a way that things are going. Some of the institutional changes. The idea is university tuition is very high. They thought online learning can cut costs. What Minerva did, instead of cutting costs, they wanted to raise the quality. There's a lot of people who think university is just not worth it because you end up university buried in debt. And this scares some people. They're looking for other ways to do it. Now, maybe we can look for other ways to do university that doesn't incur this debt. These are the tuitions. Yeah, of course, these are US numbers, okay? These are US numbers, but this is what it costs per year of university. You know, it's very expensive. It's very expensive. And we have a little video from Minerva. I hope you can hear this. Let me try this.
Did you know that you forget about 90%?
Is the sound coming in?
Of what you're taught in a traditional
Everything is
class
fine,
after
Jerry.
only
3 days? Imagine how much more you could be getting from your education if we learned it differently. Over the last decade, Minerva has been refining an approach that's focused on more engaging teaching and learning. We emphasize specific skills, the same ones experts agree are the most important, so that you're not stuck memorizing content, regurgitating it, and then forgetting it later. Learning with Minerva is different in 3 key ways. It's fully active and discussion-based. This means instead of being lectured, you're interacting with your classmates and your teachers, not sitting passively. It's also designed to be built over time and across subjects. So what you're learning one day will be referenced again in another context the next day, helping you draw connections and solve new problems more creatively. And it includes teacher feedback on your participation. So it's not just about a grade on a test, it's about guidance based on actual evidence coming directly from your classes. That includes the interesting point you made or the question that you asked during the group discussion. So what does this mean for you? The Minerva approach will make you a more engaged student who thinks in a more expansive and interesting way, and in a way that the world, the one outside of the classroom, really needs.
Okay, I hope you like that little video. Minerva has a proprietary platform. They're not using Zoom. They have their own platform. They put a lot of money into designing this platform. So they're kind of pushing online learning. There is no campus at all. They don't have a campus. So as far as I know, this is the first university in the world without a campus. The students all live abroad in other countries. There are 7 different countries that they live at throughout their undergraduate studies. And the cost is about $32,000, which is less than the average cost of private school tuition in the U.S. So Minerva says, instead of spending your tuition money on athletic facilities, classrooms, landscaping, we dedicate the resources to providing world-class education through the active learning form. That's a pretty cool way of doing things. A new idea. So is this the new normal? Is Minerva the new normal? Now, teachers throughout COVID developed skills. Which skills will be kept? This is kind of the focus here. What is going to be kept? What is the methodology? For me, I made a lot of videos. I think videos are going to be the new methodology. I think videos are not going away. They're going to be becoming more and more important. There's a lot of apps we can use with video. Filmora is very cheap. It's very good. And then interactive videos are coming in. I did a study with my colleague, Rustam, and we looked at online peer reviews. And should we do online peer reviews? We surveyed 130 students, but only 34 returned the survey. The students were using checklists, and we found that it was actually effective, that the suggestions were being incorporated into the new drafts of the essays. So the suggestions that they were giving based on these checklists were being incorporated. I thought it was interesting. We asked them, what do you think of this online peer review? Would you prefer face-to-face or would you prefer online? And there was no preference at all. You see, this is the new normal. This is immediately switching to online. 10 o'clock at night. Tomorrow you're going to be teaching online. Okay, this is students. They really don't have a preference. Whether it's online or not online is, it doesn't matter to them. It's equal. We did 20 statement Likert type scale. They found that teacher feedback and peer feedback is the most effective. The students need structure. If you're going to have them do online stuff, you have to structure the peer review. And you have to give them, parameters. You have to teach them how to give feedback and how to evaluate the feedback that they are given. So teachers should tell them why we're doing an online peer review. They should give them structure, checklists, time limits, examples, show them how it works. There needs to be some accountability. Some of the students who don't really engage in the peer review can be very frustrating. So students who don't complete their worksheets or they don't do a very good job on them, there should be some way to give them a lower grade. And if we do that, this is one of the methodologies that we can use. So this is one of the methodologies. This is just a technique. Online peer reviews can give you a little bit more time in the class to work on some other things. Flipped learning is another methodology. At MEF University, all of our classes are flipped. In the COVID time, I would do more extensive videos. We usually do our videos about 20 minutes. These videos were about 40 or 50 minutes, and then I would reduce the class time because students were telling me that their eyes were hurting from watching the the videos for so long. So I'm now use the videos as homework. And so my question now is, can we have academic rigor without reading? Can you have a university class with no reading? It is an academically rigorous class without reducing the academic level of the class. And so far it's working pretty well. What I do is I say, you can watch the video, you can do the reading, or you can do both. If you do both, I give you extra credit. And I'm finding that a lot of students are actually choosing to do both, which I think gives them a very rich learning experience. However, currently, in spite of the value of video, I don't see video editing in pre-service teacher education. So maybe that's something that we should do, put a little course on video editing in teacher education. I think the videos are giving me increased compliance. I think students are doing homework who ordinarily would not do homework or would just give a chapter a cursory scan. So this is the new normal. We are here, we are online, we are on Zoom, we are doing it. The students have changed. So we looked at the institutions, we looked at some methodology, and now the students. I call the students indigenous netizens. Prensky talked about digital natives back in 2001. That's like 25 years ago now. So I think we've gone beyond that. These are not people who are just naturally used to using computers. No, these people live on the internet. They live on the internet. I have a 9-year-old daughter. Oh, she's 10 now. And she has a playground that she goes to with her friends called Roblox. This is where she lives. This is what she does. It's not just a place to go to look up information. She lives on the internet. She meets her friends on the internet. The video editing programs of Filmora. Filmora is reasonably priced. Filmora is reasonably priced. And I think that a lot of schools are going to start going into this. I would also recommend a web app called Videos, right? So, and I think this these videos will give you these little clips you can include in that give you a much more rich video. And I think we should start teaching this. But I also think that this 3D world, this virtual world, Roblox, and Second Life, and a lot of these things happening in the virtual world is where we're going. And we're not teaching these skills. You're getting your salary in dollars. Yeah, so John, you know, and unfortunately I am not, but I still pay it. You know, I paid out of my pocket $144 for a program called Play Pause It, which makes interactive videos. So the videos will play an interactive video, the video plays, and then it stops and there's a quiz question. And the students do it. The students also have a discussion board that's along the side of the video, and it makes video, you know, just a little bit more fun and interesting. So it feels like you're, okay, thank you. You know, and PlayPosit has a free version, but yeah, it limited access. Yes, I didn't use I paid the money for the PlayPosit because I thought it was worth it. And I'm happy with it. Our university is looking at adopting Panopto, but we'll see. I mean, you know, we get out there and we start talking to people. We try to get the university to spend the money, you know, because we really don't have it. So we try to get the university to buy these things, but we kind of need to, you know, tell them. I was using screencast. About 2 years ago, I did an article on using screencast. So in a screencast, you can give writing feedback both visually and with audio. So you're showing them your feedback and you're explaining to them why they got the feedback. It worked very well. Virtual reality and augmented reality are no longer emerging technologies. They are here. They are here. Yep, it is happening. It is happening. So you can imagine in a few years' time, your kids come home and tell you about their best friend. And you say, okay, what does she look like? And they have no idea. All they can do is tell you about their avatar. You know, this is coming, and you will have students from all over the world doing these things. Virtual reality is I think it is here, but it's still in the beginning stages. It will expand and it will be improved. In this, this is from a company. These slides are from a company, and they have this VR science lab, and there's a teacher device, 20 headsets, a router, a sanitizer, very important, your sanitizer. You have chargers, you have software. So it's all there. It's this nice little package. This is the headset, and this is the package. And so you just wheel it out and say, okay, kids, we're going to do an activity. Come and get your headset. These are the prices. I'm not sure if you can see that, but the headset's about 300 US. You get 20 of them, it's going to be a lot of money. And then there's annual subscriptions and professional development and all these other things that go with this. So for the individual teacher, it's prohibitive. But I still think you're going to see this in Turkey within 3 to 5 years. And the reason is it becomes a competitive advantage for private schools. It becomes a competitive advantage. So they will spend this money because it's not really for education, it's for advertising. If it's for education, they might not spend it. But to get more students in, you know, they will do that. And this is Harrison School District. Okay, Harrison School District in Colorado. And what they do is they have a couple of these VR sets and they share them. So you go and you check this out. So you don't need to have a set for each classroom. You can have a few sets and share them. Check this out for 2 weeks. They use it, they do a training, then they have an instructional technology specialist co-teach a lesson, and then they go. They go with this. And so virtual reality is actually here. It's in the classroom. They're using it in Finland. More content needs to be created for these activities. Right now, and we talked about video, the VR video is much more expensive. The top creation tools are called Unity and Unreal, and they're quite expensive. But as time goes on, these prices are going to go down. The AR and VR is definitely coming to education. It's definitely coming to education. And it's a very active learning style, which appeals to our indigenous netizen students. Can you imagine this? Very standard activity. Just imagine doing this in virtual reality. Yeah, I think yeah, I don't know that much about AI. AI is a little scary, but you know, I would like to use AI for academic advising, but I, you know, I'm a little bit afraid of AI teachers. But you know, I mean, you can imagine this now. Okay, good. So we got some good comments on there. You can imagine this, doing this with AR or VR, just a lot of stuff. This has really good applications. There's this cardboard VR goggles. These cost about $6 US. If you want to do this yourself, you need to get a 360 camera. They cost somewhere between 100 to 300 US. It connects to your phone. Okay, the camera connects to your phone so that you can walk around. When you upload the video to YouTube, the YouTube can recognize that it's 360 video, that it's VR. And you can get these cardboard goggles or have the kids make the cardboard goggles, put their phones in it, and there you go. There you go. So, send back to my childhood. Yeah. And I don't know what kind of phone this is, Zeki. That's a very good comment. You know, this may be, I don't know if you have to have an iPhone to do this or not. I don't know which phones this will work with, but that's something to look at. And then again, as time goes on, probably more and more phones are going to be 360 video compliant. There's this immersive classroom, which I just wanted to mention briefly. This looks very cool to me. You know, you could do a lot of things. You know, you could have an airport, that you're in an airport and do role plays. Just a lot of things you could do in these classes. I think VR is coming. I'm not sure these interactive classrooms are coming. They look cool to me, but I'm not sure it's really going to happen. So as I said, to recap, I think we're going to get VR in Turkey within 5 years. I think that will start in the private schools. One of the things that happens, we already have quite a difference between public schools and private schools. This difference will grow. The video technology is going to continue to improve and continue to be cheaper and cheaper. Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, it was all about, you know, a ball. You have a football, you play football. You have a basketball, you play basketball. Whatever ball you had, that's the sport you played. It's a very different world. It's a very different world. I think we need to realize that the students have fundamentally changed. Students have fundamentally changed. And then the question is, has pedagogy changed to keep up with the changes in technology and in students? The institutions change a little bit slower and the pedagogy changes a little bit slower. But the students and the technology, these are rapid changes. These are things that are happening. So I want to talk for a second about teacher education and what we need to change in teacher education in order to get a new methodology, a post-pandemic methodology into practice. We need to change our teacher education programs. Creating online games, creating videos, video editing, working with VR. What about requiring online learning for practicum? Because if they're going to become, if your school is going to call you at 10 o'clock at night and say, guess what, Hojam? Tomorrow you're online. If you're not ready for that, it could be bad. And we need to prepare our students for these. Online practicum, an online practicum. We need to look at online online classrooms. You don't agree with the time prediction in Turkey for virtual reality or for everything? And of course it's speculative, but you see, the reason I say this, is because this will become a competitive advantage for the schools, and you'll get them in the higher level schools, the coach schools like this, and they'll say, look at us, we are doing VR, and they will put pictures of students doing VR on Instagram, and they will use it as a promotional thing. That's why I think it will come. That's why I think it will come, because it will help the schools promote. It may be, there's problems, and of course, any of these, this is disruptive change. This is disruptive change. There's a lot of things going on, but I also think we need to be ready for it. We need to be ready for it. So we have a student who comes into a teacher education program in 2022, right? They will graduate then in 2026, if everything's okay. And what will the world be like for them? We need to think about that, because we can't do the same pedagogy that we've been doing for the past few generations, right? Kumar Vervelu, yes, right? Yeah, so you've already seen this. Yeah, you've already seen this thing. So I believe it will happen, and I think we need to have this reflected in the teacher education programs. So what should be removed from the programs? What is the value in the programs? Almost every English teacher education program has methods and approaches of the 1970s and the 1980s. I'm not sure that they need to be removed, but they might be compacted a little bit so that you're spending less time on approaches that are really no longer used and more time on post-pandemic methodology and new technologies and working with the students who are indigenous netizens. We did a investigation of online practicum during the pandemic, and we found that the mentors were very helpful in getting you like pronouncing Kumar very well. Oh my goodness, every time I do that I feel like I'm doing it wrong. So they were getting help online, our students who were doing online practicum. And there's a study out there in Turkey, it was done in Turkey, on using virtual reality for practicum studies. So we found that they were getting help from the mentors. They were able to do this. There was the EVA platform. And the students I thought the students were really good because they could look at some of the EBA ones and they could see, okay, this lesson on EBA was good. This lesson on EBA was not good. And this is why. And this, for them doing these critiques of the EBA lessons through their observations of their schools, because the mentoring schools, the cooperating schools were using this platform, right? I hope you're all familiar with the EBA platform. Yeah. You know, it was a it was a Turkish platform, and they used it here. It was rolled out by the government of Turkey. It was kind of a television platform for the lessons during COVID. And I was very happy with our students that they were able to critique it. They were able to analyze it very well. They gave suggestions on how to improve it. They did a lot of critical thinking about this. They were also able to create their own lessons. Some of the cooperating schools, really, I didn't know that. They tried to avoid technology. And I think, you know, we're talking about a new methodology and a new pedagogy and a post-pandemic pedagogy. You can't, the technology will never be better than the pedagogy. You have to have the basic teaching skills in order for the technology to be effective, I believe. So, you know, we have to keep those things in mind. The pedagogy is more important than the technology. So the interns were able to do this. This was our research on the online practicum. Of course, problems, and classroom management. And classroom management online is fundamentally different than classroom management in a physical room. Yeah, so the classroom management is fundamentally different. Tactile and physical aspect. Get the students clicking things. Get them clicking things. Get them to use their mouse and click this and click that. You'll have a lot fewer classroom management problems. You'll have a lot more engagement, but you've got to keep them active. You've got to keep them in the virtual realm where they're doing things, not just passively like they're watching a television program. Yeah, that's a very nice quote, you know, like it's education is like a river, you know, whatever happens, it happens. And I think that's kind of true. Yeah, and classroom management, is it flipped classroom works with willing and motivated? Anything works with willing and motivated students. If we motivate the students, so our job is done. We can relax. We just let them learn. We don't have to teach anymore. Yeah, motivating is the name of the game. Okay, so the interns in here, they realized that that their success depended on, like you were saying, willingness and a proper attitude and motivation towards this technology and towards these new things. So I thought that this was very interesting. As we looked at the reflection reports of their observations during an online practicum, and I expected them to say, to be full of problems and to say, oh, this wasn't good, that wasn't good, we had this problem and unhappiness, but they didn't. They really didn't. They said, this is really cool because we're learning something that we think is a valuable skill. We're very happy about it. They felt it was better than actually face-to-face internship. They liked it. And there's starting to get some research on this value of online practicum. The old way of teacher education was teacher knowledge. What do teachers need to know to be able to teach? But the new way is ability. What can teachers do? And how do teachers interact? And promoting this online interaction, because this is, I believe, the key to getting online classroom management, is to manage this interaction. Indigenous netizens, these are the students coming up. These are the students who were born using technology. But I would say that the students we're starting to see now are beyond just using technology, they actually live in the internet. They live there. They don't just go there. This is their life. And some of these people are very strong about their avatars. Right, Azuri, yeah, you know, these things are happening, you know. These things are happening. They get cheaper as we go. So what is impossible, like this whole video thing, a few years ago would not have been possible. Now videos are becoming possible. And we're starting to see a lot of advancements in that area. And then soon we'll start to see advancements in virtual reality, I believe. So the students are changing. This is the old model, Schulman 1987. You have pedagogical knowledge, you have content knowledge. You need to know, in our case, English, but you also need to know how to teach English. The combination of these is called pedagogical content knowledge. This article by Schulman has something like 10,000 citations. It's a very widely referenced article. What do teachers need to know to be able to teach? This was modified in 2006 to say that technology is a core teaching competency. It's not optional anymore. I was teaching around 2000, you know, the change of the millennia there. And we had some teachers who could not send an email, and some teachers who refused to work with computers, and they left the profession. They left the profession. It's working with technology is no longer optional. You have to be able to do it. But I say, as we go on and these kids are indigenous netizens, they live in the internet. We need to look at new pedagogies, new methodologies for the post-pandemic era. And I am going to suggest a skills-based model, not a knowledge-based model, but a skills-based model. What can you do? So English is something you do. You speak it, you read it, you write it. It's not just something you know. It's not memorizing grammar rules. So this concept of memorization of grammar rules needs to kind of be reduced. There's a little bit of memorization involved, but mainly we want to develop skills and then pedagogical skills to teach it. But these are not technological skills that I'm talking about here. These are virtual skills. Okay, virtual skills. This is interacting in the virtual world where the students live. We need to go to them where they live and interact with them and teach them where they are, not where we want them to be. I think this can come under pedagogy. Yeah. PCK, pedagogical content knowledge, right? And so this is, this is what I'm suggesting as a post-pandemic methodology, the VEP skills. Okay. Virtual English pedagogy, VEP skills. Right? It should be taught and developed as a skill. This should come into teacher education programs, and this should be a new methodology, working in the virtual world, working with English, working with pedagogy. So to sum up, the new normal is here. Institutions have changed. Their expectations of teachers have changed. The changes in technology, Teachnology. Every time I make that typo, I'm happy. I like that typo very much. Teachnology. And these are changing rapidly. Technology is changing rapidly. Students are changing rapidly. All of these things require changes in pedagogy. And so I am recommending that, you like that, Berna? I love that. It's a typo, and I said, ooh, I want to keep it. And I think this web skills is a good way to kind of think about things, right? We can kind of think about this as a new type of methodology. And again, skills, not knowledge. So with all of that being said, I think that kind of brings us to the end. I think I've pretty much burned up my hour, and I appreciate your attention. I really do, and thank you for those of you who made comments. Please do a little screenshot or whatever you need to do, take a picture, whatever you need to do, connect with me. I'd love to chat more about these things and other things. I'm always happy to collaborate. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry Hojam. It was a great session. You caused a lot of discussion in the chat box. We were attacking each other. Gamze Hojam has a question. Can you stop sharing your screen so that you can see the full chat box? Gamze Hojam, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your own question, or do you want me to ask your question? No response?
She's asking you to go ahead, Aiden Hojam.
Okay. Okay. Oh my God, stop writing in the chat box. I missed my question. What happened? Oh, geez. Okay. Yeah, I can see people raising their hands, so don't worry. I will let you ask your questions. I just need to find, yes, here it is. How do you, individual or institution, as an individual or an institution, help or guide your students who come from years of old teacher-centered system to close the gap between their readiness level and course materials while reaching, even surpassing, the threshold for the flipped learning to really work? Thanks, says Gamze Hojam. Gamze Hojam, too many expressions and phrases in parentheses. It's not that easy to read. So Jerry Hojam, what I understand is our students come from a background which is totally teacher-centered. How do you help them get over this old habits of theirs and get used to the flipped learning system?
I'm not sure I help them as much as I push them and prod them and shove them along. But, it takes a new mindset. And anytime you're going to change a mindset like this, the first place to start is why the old mindset is not working. and a new mindset is required. My experience is that most of the students who come from this background recognize that it's not optimal, and they're willing to consider options. And I mean, I said that I push the students, but I don't. I present things and let them make their decisions. I try to show them options and then have them choose among the options of what they like. But yes, it does. It will take a new mindset.
Okay. By the way, don't forget that MEF University is a private university. So student profile can be a little bit different. Kaveh Halilzadeh, am I pronouncing your name correctly? Go ahead and Jalilzadeh. Sorry for that.
No, it's fine.
Please go ahead and ask your question.
Aydan Hocam, thank you for your informative sessions, and also Jerome Bush Hocam. What I was wondering, it is, let's say, accepted widely our students are digital natives. When we were running a study on the challenges of online assessment, one of the themes which is repeatedly emerged through data analysis is students' lack of technological knowledge and the matter of equity, because we have got, as you mentioned, the students' profile. We cannot say that a student who is living in Istanbul has got the same level of technology a person who is living in another part of the, let's say, Turkey. To me, actually what the data shows us, one of the main challenges in online assessment is the students' lack of technological knowledge. They cannot very handle. I would like to have Jeremy Hocam's idea as well, whether he is in agreement with my idea or not. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate your question. The point that Aydan Hoca made, in that, you know, I teach at this private university in Istanbul. Most of my students have a pretty high level of technology, but I realize that's not the same as it is everywhere. And I tried to touch on this a little bit in my presentation, that one of the things we do in the teacher education is spend a lot of time on methodologies of the 1970s and 1980s, methodologies that are not used. It's not, and I don't want to say they're not valuable. I'm not saying throw them out, but I'm saying, you know, can we kind of reduce the amount of time we spend on them? Can we kind of compact those courses? And then that would allow us more time to work on these technological skills. You know, at MEF University, we're not doing video editing. We're not teaching our students how to use virtual reality, but I would like to. But it comes down to time. You know, what are the time? And we end up teaching like this very traditional method. We end up promoting these traditional methods. And Kaveh Hoca, there's no. It's going to take a lot of work to come over this and teaching new skills to students. But again, this goes back to web skills. These are skills. This technology are skills. And we need to think about developing the skills and developing which skills the teacher candidates need. Not what do teacher candidates need to know, but what do they need to do? And technology is something they really need to be able to do. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think in education, equality and equity have always been a huge issue, whether technology is concerned or not. But I totally understand the perspective that Kaveh Hoca has just touched upon. Thank you very much for that. Yasemen Hocam has another question. And Yasemen Hocam, would you like to ask your own question, or do you want me to read it? Okay. Are education faculties in Turkey ready to teach virtual teaching pedagogy? A very strong cooperation between departments is needed, she says. What do you think, Jerry Hoca?
Cooperation between departments. I have always found cooperation between departments to be very difficult. But I think that that they're not ready. But my concern is they're not trying to be ready. they're not really, like getting a plan to roll it out or anything, or even reviewing the curriculum. So I think we really need to review in a very serious way the teacher education curriculum, the ELT curriculum in Turkey. It's not an easy thing, and there's political considerations and a lot of other things to be considered. But I think we need to find ways, that we can start to put these things in the courses we already have.
Sorry, I couldn't. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I had a crying baby at the background, so I couldn't just say anything. I'm really sorry about that. May I say something about this?
Of course, go ahead.
Yeah, I was concerned, Aydan Hocam, because, for example, when the education faculties, when ELT departments want to teach virtual teaching pedagogy, or when they want to include this in their curriculum, they will need serious help from education technology departments, because professors also, they need to be educated too, or they need to be cooperating with other departments too, so that they include this thing in their curriculum. That's why it's quite challenging, and it requires an interdisciplinary cooperation between departments. And it's not only about ELT departments. In Turkey, for example, I have an English literature background. I've been teaching English for 14 years, but my background was English language and literature. And there are many teachers like me who come from other backgrounds like linguistics, translations, English literature. So we even need extra information about this. Okay, ELT departments, first of all, they need strong interdisciplinary cooperation, and I would prefer this thing to be state funded, because as our friends mentioned, there is quite a big inequality when we just try to do this thing. If we leave this thing to the private sector, then only the students in private sector and the teachers in private sector will benefit from this. How about the state ones? And how about teachers like me who come from even literature background or translation background? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yasemin Hocam. By the way, some people ask whether the session is being recorded or not. Yes, it is, like any other INGED Zoom series. And it will be published next week on our YouTube channel, INGED Turkey YouTube channel. So if you have missed any part of this, any sections of this session, please visit our and subscribe, of course, to our channel and watch the full version. Okay, let me see. Oh, man, yes. Mert Hocam, you're again creating a discussion over there. I can follow you. Yes, I know. Okay, Jerry Hocam.
So you want me to take that on from what Yasmin was saying?
No, what I'm going to ask is, if we start dealing with this aspect, technological aspect of education, it's not going to be only ELT departments. If we consider teacher education or teacher training departments, that means we need a lot of competent people from educational technologies department to help all those other departments. Can you imagine that? Do we have enough personnel to do that? Because we are
And
right
if
now
we don't,
talking.
where do we get them?
Yeah,
You know,
right. Where do we get them?
right. Because I mean, at this point, we're talking about new pedagogies. We're talking about new methodologies. The pandemic really isn't over. I mean, we're all still wearing masks, except for when we're on
Yes.
Zoom. And what you know, what we need to imagine is what is the world going to look like when we're back without our masks, and what are we going to take away from this time that we can still use? My experience with the interdisciplinary work is that it's very challenging. It's hard to get people in there, but slowly, yes. You know, and then the educational technologists are usually more willing to work with other disciplines, which is nice. So I think we can, you know, we can get this kind of slowly progressing. But ideally, we want to get the people in ELT to be competent enough with the technologies that they don't need to rely on outside help. Of course, you know, these things take time, but we need to get started on it. We need to get started on it.
Yes. Okay. Now, hopefully, Cemil Gökhan Hocam will have a session with us in January. And hopefully he will give us more information on how to use technology, virtual reality, things like that. Hopefully we will all get more convinced, including me, being an old-fashioned educator. So we would definitely like to see you all in that session if you're interested, because I believe we will learn more about this and we need to learn even more. It's obvious, isn't it? Peki Jerry Hocam, one last question from me. I don't know whether our participants have more questions or not. What are you going to say about the emotional, psychological aspect of being together, students coming together, teenagers leaving home, being away from their parents, being away from parent pressure, children being together, playing together, touching each other, you know, that physical aspect. What are you going to say about this emotional and psychological aspect? How is technology going to fulfill that aspect?
Hocam, you know, the quick answer is I don't know. But I will say that the technology is never going to be better than the underlying pedagogy. So these are pedagogical questions that will not go away, and they need to be addressed. They need to be addressed. But I will tell you that a lot of the kids are playing online, and they're just as happy as if they were in the physical playground. And in my research on online peer reviews, I thought it was interesting that it didn't matter to them whether they were in physical space or virtual space. It was the same. They considered it exactly the same. So I think one of the things that's starting to change with the student profile is they don't see as much difference between a virtual environment and a real environment. I'm not sure they can tell which one is real.
A wonderful answer. I don't know how we're going to do that, because remember when Ali Hocam said, by the way, whoever attends to our sessions is a hoca for us, because INGET is a teachers association. So whether you're a student or a teacher or an instructor or a professor, doesn't matter, you're a hocam for us. That's why we address people like that. I hope we do not offend anyone. But what I'm going to say is, Ali Hojam said, if virtual reality ever takes over the primary education, I want to go back to my childhood. And for a second, I said, no way. I would never exchange my childhood for any virtual reality. Oh, it was full of dirt. It was full of mud. It was full of mahalle arkadaşlığı. It was full of komşular helping each other, taking care of each other's children, riding bicycle. That is the childhood. And I don't know if technology will ever take over. Well, thank you very much. I cannot see any. Alo hocam, yes. You get jealous? No, believe me, my daughters feel jealous of me. Believe me, they say you're so lucky because everything is more difficult for them. Yeah, okay, technology is here. They get all kinds of technological help, but look at the world that they live in. Sad, isn't it? Mahalle arkadaşları. I know, Azra hocam, it was lovely in the old times. Jerry hocam, I don't know how to thank you. This has been a great session. And I wish I could keep you here more, ask you more questions, but I know you're tired after a long day. So thank you very much.
But it was enjoyable and it's an honor, really. NGED is a great, great thing. And it needs to be supported. It needs to be nurtured. It needs to be, it needs to grow. And it's such a wonderful, wonderful thing that you're doing. I really appreciate it. I'm happy I could be a small part of it.
Oh, thank you very much. Oh, remember our motto, together we stand, right? Well, my dear colleagues, thanks again. Thank you. Without you, there wouldn't be a session. So hope to see you next week with another wonderful guest speaker. So take very good care of yourselves and please keep safe. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.